What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today we're talking about this.
After all your conversations in confidence, do you believe something is coming in 2027?
There are people who have speculated to me, people who purportedly have inside knowledge, who may or may not be right, who have said that something is happening in 2027. Other people have said 2034. Other people have admitted to me they really have no bloody idea, but they do think something is coming.
Have any of those people been on this podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
To be honest with you, the world does need a reset right now, frankly. I'm not talking about a catastrophe, but I do think humanity's heading into a very dangerous place. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there was a nuclear war. I mean, we are closer to nuclear apocalypse than at any other time in our history.
All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. All right, Vetters, so what's today's video about? Well, finally have Ross talking about the 2027 prediction that an alien invasion may be coming. And he's coming clean about what he knows about it exactly. And we're also going to cover some other different aspects of a recent interview that Ross Coulthart did on the Area 52 podcast with Chris Ramsay. It's a phenomenal interview. I'm going to put a link down below to the full interview so you can go check it out for yourself. But we got quite a few things, to talk about here. But first, we're going to start with this 2027 alien invasion prediction that has been out there for a long time. Essentially, I've made quite a few videos about it. I'm going to put links down below to some other videos so you can get more backstory on it, because Jeremy Corbell kind of really brought it forward and kind of dispelled it, saying that people were going to say this, but it was a lie. But a lot of people have talked about it, and I even found where the rumor started, and I made a few videos about it, so I'll put the links down below. Go check those out if you want more information. But this is Ross sort of responding to this 2027 alien invasion rumor that's been out there.
This one was gonna come up. Patient meaning. Asks, after all your conversations in confidence, do you believe something is coming in 2027?
Again, that's an inquiry about my belief. It's not my inquiry about knowledge.
Yes.
I'm in no position to say that I know something. There are people who have speculated to me, people who purportedly have inside knowledge, who may or may not be right, who have said that something is happening in 2027. Other people have said 2034. Other people have admitted to me they really have no bloody idea, but they do think something is coming.
Have any of those people been on this podcast?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's interesting.
So right away, that's kind of interesting, right? Okay, so Ross is saying that he has been told about this behind the scenes. He's heard 2027, he's heard 2034, and other people saying they don't know what's going on. And then Chris Ramsay asks, has some of those people been on my podcast? And he says, yes. So go down, start checking out the list of all the different people that have been on, Chris Ramsay's podcast, which isn't everybody. So it does narrow the list down. These are the people behind the scenes spreading this rumor, okay? And I've heard quite a few different people myself that have been spreading this rumor, right? Allegedly, Lou Elizondo is behind one of them as well. And allegedly, okay? But, definitely heard that. And that's more in the 2030s. But every time Lou Elizondo's asked about it, he's like, I can't talk about it. This, that, which kind of just fuels the rumors, right? But it's one of those things where prophecies, predictions, right? We've all heard these things before, and they just serve no purpose, right? They serve no purpose, especially when you're telling people behind the scenes, hey, this, that, the other, right? Like I've always said on the show, it's a lot of times those things are used to sort of activate people and get them to do things because they think the world's about to end. And essentially the rumor is there's an alien invasion coming. And the different parts of that rumor are that, they're coming back for their vehicles, their bodies, right? They're coming back, right? We'll reap what we sow, essentially. But a lot of them, like, or they're coming back to take us over, pharma, right? There's all kinds of different aspects to that. And again, it's just one of those things like, what are we doing here, right? It's just fear-mongering, right? No evidence is ever provided for this, right? Nobody asks, how do you know this? How do you know aliens are coming back in 2027 or 2034 or whatever, right? How do you know this, right? There's no evidence ever being presented. And the next question Chris asked here is a very appropriate question. Again, Chris Ramsay is a great interviewer. I always enjoy his interviews, and it's been a minute since I've covered one of his videos, so I'm happy to do it here. And the question Chris asked, is this all part of a psyop? I think that's a very relevant question.
Yeah, what do you make of that? Do you think that could be some type of psyop? Do you think that the people who tell you that could have been psyoped as well?
Yeah, it could be. And I think what it might be is an attempt by the pro-disclosure people to inject some urgency into the debate about whether or not there should or shouldn't be disclosure.
I see.
What I'm told is that there's a higher degree of uncertainty about what it is that is speculated to be coming than people acknowledge.
Okay,
and also I know the inevitable question is, what do you know is coming? And I don't know anything. People speculate that there's natural disasters, comets, some kind of catastrophe. I've got no idea.
But then
I
also
don't even know if it's true.
This sort of idea of this giant craft coming. We had that that 3IA Atlas, we had Oumuamua, like all of these sort of interstellar objects entering our solar system. Do you think, have you been told by these people in confidence what this might be, or are they also uncertain? They're just like, something's coming. I've
heard so many contradictory accounts. All I know is people murmur and mumble that, something's on the horizon. Don't quite know.
They've been doing that for a long time.
I know. And I just wonder whether it's just Pentagon tittle-tattle. I really do. I
fear-mongering?
No, not fear-mongering, just tittle-tattle.
I see.
I mean, believe it or not, intelligence people, spooks, they gossip just as much as we do.
Yeah.
They love gossip, and spies gossip. They really do. They love gossip. And I think there's a lot of that behind what we're talking about here.
Well, I'm going to push back on that a little bit and say this is exactly fear-mongering. I mean, spies love gossiping. Okay, that's interesting. But, if I have sources, which I don't, right? But if I did, right, like Ross here, right? He's a journalist. He's saying, if I had sources telling me this stuff, again, where's the evidence? Don't tell me this stuff, right? And of course it gets out there. It should have never been put out to the public, essentially. But again, it's used behind the scenes. So they're here speculating something's coming, something's on the horizon. I mean, if I heard somebody talking to me like that, I just wouldn't take them seriously. Who cares what their credentials are? That's the thing. People's credentials, quote, people excuse so much from that. And I can tell you that in my experience, just viewing the world, crazy people are at the highest levels. Look at the Epstein files, okay? Credentials don't mean anything about how reliable you are, and the information you bring forward is reliable. It can help, but it's not a guarantee, right? And this kind of stuff is just so weird to me. And it's such a dark, horrible part of this community and this topic, to be honest with you, this kind of stuff, because people start speculating, but it changes from speculation to I know, right? And they leave out all these other details that you then fill in, and people get scared. They start fear. How is it not fear-mongering to be like, something's on the horizon, something's coming? What? How's that not? You know what I mean? You'd be like, what's coming? What's happening? There's a big spaceship. There's, this, that, the other. I mean, 3I Atlas. Remember that whole fiasco? Everyone thought that was a spaceship coming. You had remote viewers saying it was a spaceship. They're coming. It's coming. They're, Oumuamua, all kinds of different stuff. I'm going to keep covering this because I hope people are just aware of the facts. there is no evidence or proof, nothing in the slightest that has come forward about this, period. Right? And I'm glad Ross is being honest, like, I don't know anything. This is what I've been told. This is what I've heard. I appreciate that, to be honest with you. You know, but it is interesting, the next bit that he goes into after this, right? Where he kind of claims the world may be ready for a reset, which, let's explore what he means by that.
We've lived through a bunch of these disasters, by the way.
Yeah.
Y2K, 2012, there's 2021. There was a lot of...
I think we're entitled to be skeptical, but I also don't think we should be complacent. But also, I mean, to be honest with you, the world does need a reset right now, frankly. I'm not talking about a catastrophe, but I do think humanity's heading into a very dangerous place. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there was a nuclear war. I mean, we are closer to nuclear apocalypse than at any other time in our history. And the world is so blasé about that. When I was an 18-year-old punk, I genuinely thought while I was at university there really wasn't much point in finishing my studies because I knew we were going to die in a thermonuclear war. There was this movie called The Day After, which presented this incredibly grim idea of what was going to happen when war broke out. And it seemed inevitable that war was going to happen. Thankfully, we survived that one. But now, people don't realize this. The doomsday clock, which is presented by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, is closer now than at any other time in our history, including the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Wow.
They think right now is more dangerous than the Cuban Missile Crisis when we came literally to the brink of nuclear war. So I don't think we need a natural catastrophe, be it a comet or a pole reversal or whatever it is that they're talking about. Maybe it's alien spaceships arriving and shooting us all up. We are primitive apes, warlike apes. We are capable of destroying ourselves. And I think, frankly, that's the bigger theme that we should be concerned about.
Yep, good point.
But I would also argue to that, and I'm not saying there's no truth to what Ross is saying here, okay? It is true we're closer to some sort of nuclear Armageddon than we've ever been. But, you know, what does that really mean? Right? We also focus on things more. We have information moving around. So maybe we were closer to the Cuban Missile Crisis than now. I mean, it's not like anybody's pointing nuclear missiles or weapons at us. So, you know what I mean? It's all in context and in relation to the time we were in, right? So, you know, but, you know, how much do you pay attention to social media? Does social media equal real life, right? It's like we're more aware of things now. So does that make it more, we should be more afraid? I mean, clearly we have to be realistic, right? I think that's, you know, and to each their own, right? But clearly being more realistic is okay. And it does seem like the world is more divided, but is it really, right? I mean, I can point to different points in time where the world was far more divided and far more barbaric, right, than we are now, right? So I don't know, it's just an interesting thing to think about. And you know, we're apes that can destroy each other. Well, I would say any civilization advanced civilization has the capability to destroy itself once it reaches this point. And if we're talking about aliens that have such advanced tech, who's to say they can't destroy themselves either? Why are we any different? Right? Do you evolve to a point where you can't destroy? No, you can. You just may not, but you still could, right? All it takes is one person, one alien, one crazy alien, right? Like, I don't know. It's just very interesting to me. So I don't devalue where we are as humans to set up like aliens are just so much better, but we're still just apes running around. I mean, yes and no, right? Yes, but do we ever escape that? Does life, period, ever escape that? Even if there are aliens, right? I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Very interesting. And don't forget to check out those videos about the 2027 alien invasion. There's way more to that story. And again, I found the source of that rumor, in my opinion, of where that came from. And just very interesting. So let's move on. Now, this next clip, Chris is going to ask Ross about Jake Barber and David Grush, but Chris only says Jake, so he means Jake Barber from Skywatcher. And the question he asks is very interesting. Like, does Ross think Jake Barber and David Grush, who Ross brought both of them out in interviews, right? So that's why Chris is asking, I would imagine. Are they closer to this UFO legacy program than they're letting on?
Do you believe that some of the people you've spoken to, Jake included, David Grush included, are closer to the program than they let on?
I can't say.
Well, I think you just did.
Yeah, I can't say.
Okay.
I mean, what I can tell you is I became aware of David Grush from people in the program. They said to me, you need to find out about this guy.
I see.
He's asking good questions. He seems really well motivated.
That this public-facing cover might be not as, might be just some type of like surface cover to allow them to give out some information, but that in reality, they might be a little bit deeper into the program.
I don't buy the line that Jake or David are part of a controlled disclosure.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking if what they've disclosed, they might know a lot more than they're letting on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm in no doubt about that.
And might be involved a lot more.
No, and I think particularly David. I mean, David, frankly, was cleared unbelievable. I mean, I'm privy to information from sources unrelated to David. When I was checking David out,
that had mentioned him,
there were people who were in awe of David Grush.
Wow.
I mean, literally, David was carrying the presidential daily brief and secret documents to the White House on a train with a colleague escorting him. I mean, that's how trusted he was. He had knowledge of, I think, over 2,000 special access programs, right up to WUSAPs. He was one of the most highly cleared people in the Defense Department for secrets. So he's privy to a lot of programs. And the really interesting thing is, when you look at how he came to the realization, working with the UAP task force, that there was this parallel program that had been kept secret from him, it blew him away. He had not the conceit, but he had the strong belief that he'd know about it. Of course he'd know about it. I'm cleared for all of these secrets. Why don't I know about this? And then when he asked friends of his, literally in the cafeteria at the Pentagon, what do you know about this claim about a legacy program involving UFOs? And people sort of gave him a bit of a nudge. And then he realized it was real.
All right, so, how valid is David Grush and how credentialed was he and what kind of access did he have? All right, that's interesting, right, for sure. And I don't think there's been any real question about that. I guess some people have questioned it, but at the end of the day, all that really matters is what proof comes out to the American people. Because people can say, that's great. But to convince the rest of the world, some proof is going to have to come out, right? And it's just not enough that someone is viewed as highly credentialed and access and all, because there's lots of people at David Grush's level and more who don't think that this exists. Far more, in fact. So if we're, you know what I mean? So do we believe all the other thousands of people who say this isn't happening versus a few people that say it is? I mean, statistically speaking, the people that have come out to say this compared to government employees is basically zero. I know people have come out, but compared to the number of government employees and access to all of these things, it's almost like nothing. It's almost like nobody, right? So I don't know, right? But look, Ross is going to bring up an interesting point here in this next clip. And it basically goes back to the Manhattan Project, right? Because how many people would need to be involved in this cover-up of this UFO legacy program with just the American government. We're not talking about all the other governments that would have people with their programs that allegedly exist, right? Thousands of people, right, would have to be involved in this over the decades, over the last almost century. Could they keep something like that secret? Well, they make a point about the Manhattan Project, and there's over 100,000 people that helped keep that secret, right? Which is true. But as Ross will bring up, one person was able to bring that all to light.
I was going to tell you earlier, one of the people that I've met in the course of my investigations is a former very senior official at NASA. And they are an absolute luminary of the defense establishment, somebody who you would automatically think would have been read in to the program because of the roles that they played at the level that they played in the Defense Department. This is somebody who worked at an extremely high level in NASA and also went and worked at an extremely high senior executive level in the Defense Department. And miraculously, they agreed to speak to me. And they said, look, Ross, if this is true, I promise you, I do not know anything about this. And I became aware of the fact that the person 3 rungs down from him in NASA was the gatekeeper for the legacy program. And this was a person who was in charge. I just recently found this out. This was a person who was in charge of a lunar reconnaissance mission that's incredibly significant in terms of anomalies on the moon. And what freaked me out was the realization that this is so controlled and so clever that you can have the person who's almost at the apex of the entity completely oblivious and unaware of the fact that there is this secret program that's, I believe very strongly, hiding from the public knowledge of things that NASA has seen over the years and obscuring photographs and hiding data. I know.
How many people do you think are involved in something like that? Like, okay, at the tip, I've heard numbers anywhere up to like 24, or like this is, at the very tip. But just beneath that, like what would have to be? I mean, thousands, right?
There would have to be thousands now who are read in. I mean,
that's an inconceivable number for people to think about. But obviously, if we go back to Manhattan Project, there was 130,000 people involved.
For the people who say that it couldn't possibly be kept secret, the Manhattan Project is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Were it not for Klaus Fuchs, who was the Russian spy who penetrated the Manhattan Project, it might have stayed secret for a lot longer from the Soviets. But the simple fact is, one traitor can blow this.
So again, they do make a good point about the Manhattan Project. We can keep secrets, and there's lots of secrets that governments have that we'll never know about, right? And even when we find out about them, getting them to tell us if it doesn't affect national security, which is a double-edged sword, because we need national security, but also they can use that to hide things they just don't want us to know about that has nothing to do with national security. They make the decisions for us, right? It's like the government for the people, by the people, but really the government runs everything. We just put them in control, we put them in power, and how do we break them out of that power, right? There is no one person with all the power, which does help, but it's also kind of run loose. It's a train off the tracks here, essentially. So, but as Ross points out, one person, right? One traitor, as he said, brought that out. So that sort of implies that all the whistleblowers that come forward are traitors, right? Which I get why you wouldn't want to be viewed like that. But if these are illegal programs, as they're always mentioned, using illegal money, right? Illegally got money, right? Black money projects that shouldn't be happening, keeping a truth that would benefit all of humanity, not just Americans. One person hasn't come forward about this, right? Like, again, a lot of people have come forward, but nobody with the proof. So it seems odd that one person wouldn't come out and just risk it all. And I wouldn't be that person. I get it. Would you risk your family? Would you risk? No, I wouldn't. But there is somebody who would. They're out there, right? that they haven't. It hasn't happened, right? People die for all kinds of interesting reasons that they believe in. Not this. Seems odd. But again, now you take into consideration all the other governments that are allegedly hiding it. More thousands and thousands of people. I mean, it starts to get into huge numbers. If you add up all the people in the world across all these different secret programs, hundreds of thousands of people, I would say it outnumbers the Manhattan Project. Over a century, and the Manhattan Project was years. It wasn't like 100 years hidden, right? So that's also, you got to take that into account. So yes, the Manhattan Project is a good example, but it's also not a very good example in the sense that it didn't last 100 years and it never got out, right? So we're talking almost 100 years, hundreds of thousands of people across the entire globe, right? And we still don't have any proof? I don't know. People say, Patrick, there is proof. Is there? Really? Show me where I can go see a UFO. What museum do I go to? Where do I go to see this UFO or an alien body? That's the proof. Sorry, that's the proof. So they keep trying to move the goalposts of what the proof would actually be. The proof is the craft they say we have and the bodies we say they have. Don't forget, they say we got agreements with aliens, right? Again, where is the proof? It keeps moving. It keeps becoming, well, it's an accumulation. We got photos, we got documents, we got that. That's not enough. It's interesting. Let's keep looking, right? But it's not enough. All right, Vetters, look, before we go, Chris released a trailer for the entire interview with Ross Coulthart on Twitter. I'm going to play that right now because there's a lot of other things in this interview. It's a 3-hour interview that Ross did with Chris, and they talked about a lot of different things. So I feel like you should see this and kind of get a taste of other things that are talked about in the interview.
There was a conversation I had with someone who I trust, who got very emotional and described a friend of his dying on the moon. I've spoken to over a dozen people, probably 15 plus people, who operate, either have operated or are operating inside what we would call the legacy retrieval of non-human craft and reverse engineering program. I think one of the most galling, shocking moments for me was when people that I was talking to in the program, who are still in the program, admitted to me that we're using high pulse microwave weapons, HPMs, to
take them down.
Craft.
Have we purposely murdered other beings?
Oh God, that's a horrible thought, isn't it?
Have we?
I suspect we have. I've asked them what happened to the beings, and I just get a squeamish look.
Whew. Do you believe that some of the people you've spoken to, Jake included, David Grush included, are closer to the program than they let on?
I can't say.
Well, I think you just did.
Yeah, I can't say. When people know what I was talking about...
Sure.
I mean...
When you say when people know?
Oh, they will know. I'm pretty sure it'll become public.
Is it outside of the Five Eyes?
Oh, you could definitely see it on a satellite. It's a building. I've said it's a building.
It's a building. Is the building the shape of the craft?
Yeah. At 10:30 at night, he puts the blindfold over his eyes, and within a few seconds, he says, I'm engaged. I said, what do you mean you're engaged? He says, I'm in a craft. He says, horizon. And I look towards the horizon, and there are these two golden white orbs that just appear on the horizon. These objects do come closer. And I'm just like, holy hell. I was excited. I thought, wow, that was really something. But I was kind of disappointed for Jordan because we hadn't seen what he said he was going to see, which was the blue hexagon. Almost simultaneously at the moment that I'm saying to Jordan, gee, real shame that we didn't see the blue hexagon, you see a blue hexagonal orb exactly as Jordan had predicted.
Is there a piece of information you wish you were never told?
Yeah, there is. I was given the names of and it wasn't Jake. I was given the names of people who ordered the murder of his team.
All right, first of all, that music is amazing. God, Chris has the best, set, like aesthetic design. I'm so jealous. Like, he's so good at this stuff, to be honest with you. Everything is merch. It's just anything that he, like, you know what I mean? He kind of comes up with. So he's so creative. He's got a great eye for things. But great trailer. Again, link down below. Go check out the full interview. It was really good. Ross is a great interviewee, right? And Chris is a great interviewer. And it made for a really good conversation, right? It was just like two dudes hanging out, going through 3 bottles of Syrah and just, letting it out. I really enjoyed it. So please go check it out. Let me know what you think about the 2027 stuff with Ross and the David Grush, Jake Barber stuff. Let me know what you think down below. All right, betters, we'll see you guys on the next one. Before we go, okay, at the end, I always play a phone call, right? Let me just say, there's a lot of people that call and say, call me back, Patrick, and they leave their phone number or their email address or whatever. I don't return phone calls or emails like that, guys. If you call and say, I got the truth, call me back, I'm not calling you back. I don't return phone calls or emails. Don't leave your contact information in the messages, okay? I play those messages on the show, so unless you want your contact information out to the world, don't put it in there. Now, in this voicemail that I'm about to leave, I took out the email, okay? So you can't hear it, but I redacted it. But I do not return phone calls, okay? So don't bother. Don't send text messages to the phone number either. I don't look at any of that stuff, y'all. Call, you leave a message. It's 3 minutes long, okay? You have up to 3 minutes to leave your experience or a question or a comment or something, right? But don't expect me to call back. It's just not going to happen. And I'm sure some of you are still going to do that. And that's fine. They just get ignored. So, do what you want there. All right, betters. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much to everyone who has called and left messages. I really do appreciate it. And if you've called before and I haven't played your message, call again. I got backed up on a lot of messages, but I'm kind of up to date on a lot of that now. So feel free to call again if I haven't used your message, and tell your story. I will get it in at some point. Okay, so don't fret. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much. We'll see you in the next one. Every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
Hey, my name is Dallas, and I worked on the sound weapon in about 1997 in Albuquerque, Mexico, called radio frequency shielding. Rantec was the company involved with it, and it was around an anechoic chamber. Basically, it's what they used in Venezuela. If you have any questions, email is over in Olympia, Washington. All my crew that worked on it, my brother died last year, everybody's gone from cancer. I'm the only one left that originally worked on the project. If you have any questions, just, reach out. Thanks.